Ah, the wheel. The beautiful tool created to help me choose the next game from my ever-growing backlog of games to play. Last time, it picked Spiritfarer, a wonderful game that I had been planning on playing since it was released. I don't really have anything else to say. I am excited. Let's see what the wheel has in store for us this time. Spin the wheel! Dragon Star Varnir? Huh. A game I have never heard about, from a company I have never heard about, and released by a publisher I have never heard about. Well, color me intrigued. This is one of those games that caught my eye on the PlayStation Plus Extra tier as I was browsing the games that was on the catalog. And I thought, hey, let's add it to the wheel. The problem with this game for me is that it is a very story-heavy game, with most of the trophies happening outside of actual gameplay. So this one is going to be a bit different from the other videos I have made recently. But hey, I think you're still going to like this one. So feel free to keep me as a podcast in the background on this one. I can promise trophies, but a bit more spaced out than before. This one might be a bit longer, and probably is going to be the longest trophy video on my channel for a while. And be especially warned for spoilers. So let's see if my intrigue turns into excitement, or if I added a dud to my platinum collection as I take you on the road to the platinum for Dragon Star Varnir. Dragon Star Varnir is a turn-based dungeon crawler visual novel developed by Compile Heart and published by Idea Factory in 2018. Taking a look at our journey, I see that we shouldn't really have too much trouble with this one. A difficult specific trophy should really be the only trophy that might stump me. Other than that, it seems that we are in the clear. As soon as you start the game, you're greeted by a very epic and very anime opening cutscene, and introduced to the premise of the game. This is a world terrorized by dragons, hungry creatures that will attack and eat everything. These dragons are birthed from witches. And when I say birthed, what I really mean is that inside every witch lives a dragon. And when a witch goes mad, or the dragon grows too powerful, she will turn into one of these foul beasts. Therefore, it's up to us, the Knights of Requiem, to hunt down both dragons and witches. This is where our protagonist Sephi comes in, as we are battling a dragon and... oh, we're dying. And to make matters worse, here comes a few witches and... what the fuck is going on? You had something else. A vial or anything. Why do you use your mouth? That is unnecessary.
What the hell are you doing? You're gonna use your mouth?
Exactly, Karikaru. They explain this blood has healing properties for a witch, but surely it won't work on us as we're a human, and oh, it does work. And what's more, it has awoken something in us. It turns out that we are a witch. Holy moly, I love this opening act of the game. Everything the game builds up in like the first few seconds of the game quickly gets torn down, and we are presented with the basis of the game. Not only are we the first male witch, but we are also the first human turned into witch in probably ever. Besides the out of nowhere kissing scene, this was an amazing start that sold me on a game immediately. After this confusing awakening for Sephi, we get taken into our first battle. This game, as I mentioned, utilizes turn-based combat. You have access to melee and magic attacks, and your party consists of 3 active members at a time. The twist to this system, however, is that it is fought on 3 different elevations, meaning that there is a sense of strategy I did not anticipate with this one. Some attacks can hit in a column, attacking on all different elevations at the same time. Some attacks can attack a horizontal row, and some attacks can attack in a vertical line. We make quick work of the dragon that almost killed us, and this is also where I met the main gimmick of the game. Remember that I said that witches can turn into a dragon? Well, it turns out that inside all witches are a dragon that needs to be kept at bay. This dragon is what grants the ability to do magic and needs sustenance in the form of dragon meat, meaning that we have the ability to devour dragons as we battle. And devouring dragons will gift us their dragon core, which we'll get back to soon. For now though, we managed to devour our first dragon and as such finish the fight that gives us the first 2 trophies of this game.
Oh, kill him! No! Oh, we devoured him. First prey! And awoken blood.
The witches that saved us are Menessa and Caricaro. They're searching for their friend Laponette, which was captured by the knights. They plan on using us as a trade offer, but they also help teach us how to fly and do other witchy activities like fighting dragons. It is also here we are introduced to the other main gameplay loop of this game, dungeon crawling. On the overworld are dragons walking around that we can battle and various artifacts of the world we can interact with. Steffi can open magic walls, Menessa can teleport us out of the dungeon, and Caricaro can show hidden treasure chests on the map. Soon we run into the other major faction of the world, the Ravens. These are dragon hunters and basically outlaws of the world. They do what they want, when they want, and it is here we see Durandal and his right hand man. They antagonize us a bit and we end up having to fight them. After a fairly easy fight we dismantle them and continue onwards. It is here we find another dragon, and during that fight, this happens.
Wait, this is the dragon inside.
Hey yo, excuse me, what the fuck?
I can't afford to run. You're gonna die now.
Excuse me? First dragon awakening? What the fuck was that? That was kind of epic. And the jiggle physics was there?
Yeah. This is a stereotypical Japanese game, alright? They even brought the jiggle physics on the boobs. But hey, I'm only just a man, alright? So here's Caricaro as well.
It's coming, you cursed
Oh shit.
dragon. Damn you. Lend me your
The booba
strength.
shot.
I'm ready to kill.
But enough horny. We have a platinum to get. Remember I said that we could eat dragons and get their core? Well, that is how we unlock new moves and abilities. Holy shit, this is a cool gameplay feature. By completing battles, we get factory points that can be spent to unlock these skills. So in order to unlock more skills and moves we want to use, we want to battle more dragons and consume them, which in turn gets us more FP, and so the loops goes ever on. This loop is mega satisfying. It is also helped by the fact that it gives us a trophy. We meet up with some mysterious person in the woods at some point before continuing our journey. Here we also see Zephy's awakening for the first time.
Sense the dragon.
Oh shit!
Power of the dragon.
Dragging up, boys! We're dragging up!
The power
That is cool.
flowing.
This is so fucking epic. Like this, holy shit. Like holy shit, this is epic.
We catch up with the knights and Laponette, who is being held by the captain of the guards and our former leader, Corberia. The witches' plan fail as Zephy is being kicked out of the knights and is now an enemy of the state. A huge battle commences and we see how broken this devour mechanic can be, as we devour the boss fight with half of its life remaining.
I won't ever lose.
This brings us to another game mechanic. Answers at the end of the chapters, affecting the madness gauge of the game. Madness is a big concept that I will circle back to when it becomes more relevant. The only thing you need to note now is that it is usually fairly obvious that it is a correct option to pick. And a few instances it isn't, will really affect on what ending you get. For now, we made it out alive, bump into the actual leader of the Ravens, Ruby Eye, and before the chapter ends we escape, see an image of the Emperor of the Lands, and I think my reaction speaks for itself.
What the fuck? What the hell are those ears? What the hell? That is... Oh, I love the character designs so much.
I expect you have a
Oh,
new
they're so
report,
good. Chapter 1 cleared.
Okay, so I spent a long time on chapter 1, but I feel like it was important in order to understand the premise of the game. Like I said, this is a very story heavy game. It plays pretty much like a visual novel, broken apart by the dungeon crawling segments. Therefore, this video will be a lot of story composition, at least in the beginning where the story is really good and captivating. But I'm getting a bit ahead of myself. We start off chapter 2 in the witch's den, where we are introduced to all the little sisters of the witches, Suba the quest giver and Nyamo the shopkeeper. We shop a bit, quest a bit, and get interrupted by the biggest of the little sisters, Faria. She rushes in to tell us that the fifth and final sister, Ruruta, has ran off. As we rush off after her, we notice that Manessa is a bit out of it, and we get to know about the Carnival of Death, an event that happened years ago that pretty much killed most witches in the area in an inferno created by the Witch of Hellfire. Manessa witnessed it all, and this was the place it happened. As we rush further into the cave, we finally see Laponette's awakening.
The heartbeat of the dragon. Lend me your power. No more tragedies. I don't want to see.
It is also here we see Laponette's ability of creating bridges of magic for us to walk over. Also, we learn that Laponette is clairvoyant and can tap into the memories of dragons to see who they were. After much fuss, we have finally made it to the end of the dungeon. And before we save Ruruta, we need to change equipment. There are surprisingly many stats to manage, and I feel like they actually made a difference in these battles. At least later in the game, and by managing equipment and skills, you're pretty much able to make any witch fit your fighting needs. Changing equipment also meant unlocking more skills, and I still haven't noticed this unlock all button down there. So I'm unlocking all these skills manually. We'll be back to check if I noticed it in later chapters. I really love chapter 2 as well. After a strong opening of chapter 1, where the world is introduced, the characters are likable, the gameplay loop is fresh and fun, and the story sets up some interesting conflicts and rules, chapter 2 had a lot to live up to. And boy, does it do that and then some. Because we are too late. Ruruta goes mad. A splatter of blood shoots out of her body as she transforms into a dragon. The boss fight of chapter 2 is a little sister witch that turned into a dragon. The emotions this made me feel,
What the hell
and the
is that?
fact that the game showed that it will hold no punches. Man, this is the point where I knew that me and this game would get along just fine. After a tense fight, we win and meet the same witch from the woods before. She introduces herself as the Witch of Hellfire, but there is immediately found some doubt on that claim. She is called Charlotta and ends up joining us, and chapter 2 is cleared. Chapter 3 isn't as lore heavy as the first ones, but it is a very nice chapter that fleshes out the different characters in the game, and it also will give us a lot of trophies. We start off with everyone understandably bummed out because of the events of last chapter. We also get to know that the leader of the Ravens is a witch, and that she knows Charlotta somehow. Besides that in the story, Faria wants to make sure that what happened to Ruruda won't happen to anyone else, and the only way to do this is to become a big sister herself. We then agree to test if she is ready by taking her out on a hunt. Spoiler alert, she isn't just yet. As we take her out on a hunt, we finally get to see Charlotta's awakening.
Okay, dragon inside me. Release! It feels so good. Who wants to die first?
And we unlock the trophy for unlocking 200 witch factors, or skills if you want to call them that. More gameplay systems are unlocked here with the introduction of Cossetia and gaining the ability to mix elixirs. Elixirs are ways to summon dragons and fight them for equipment. The rarer the dragon, the better the loot. And luckily for us, the first elixir we create is a +3 potion, which is needed for a trophy.
Did you want to use this?
First elixir. And we got talent to mix as well. Fighting this dragon helps us get some equipment and another trophy.
Thank you. I defeated. This is all thanks to you.
This is also the part we report back with a completed quest for the first time, netting us yet another trophy. Other than that, nothing more of note really happened here. Besides, yes, the little sisters decide to go out to the grave of Ruruta and pray for Faria. At the grave, they run into Ruby Eye. Just keep that in mind for later. As I said, Faria freaked out fighting dragons and Charlotta agrees to train her. Chapter 3 is finished and we gain the trophy. In Chapter 4, the main plotline is finally introduced to us. Charlotta says she knows a way to remove the curse that forces witches to turn into dragons. Never again do we need to get another Ruruda incident. We need to seek out temples of ancient worship and search for clues. Before we delve deep into a temple, another major gameplay activity is unlocked. The ability to feed the little sisters. For every action you do in a dungeon, a gauge will go up for each little sister, making them more hungry. If the gauge gets too high, the little sisters will become mad and turn into a dragon for us to fight. So we need to feed them dragon parts in order to sate their hunger. But if we feed them too much over the course of the game, they will also turn into a dragon. I both love and hate this gameplay feature. The fact that they took a story beat and really made it into a gameplay feature is really clever. Trust me when I say that we will return to this feature in full force later. For now though, we get the trophy for getting our first reward from our little sisters.
I love you, big brother.
Loving sister. The only problem I have with this feature is that now side questing is ill-advised, as everything you do outside of the witch's den increases their hunger. And running through previous areas is therefore not the smartest idea to do. Which is a bummer, as I like to alternate between side questing and the main story in order to be as efficient as possible on the trophies. Oh well, I guess I'll survive. In the temple, there really isn't much to say. We get some more info about Charlotta, as she always manages to antagonize Karikaro, and we see more of the witch's personalities. Checking in to see if I've noticed the unlock all button. Nope, still antagonizingly slow unlocks. Oh well, at least we have unlocked a lot of skills by devouring dragons. In fact, we have now devoured 200 of them.
Good job, Lapnet. And we got Dragon Eater.
At the end of the dungeon, we meet a talking dragon? Insane. No lore, I love it. After defeating it,
Matter, we finish it off. If you hit him, thank you. Oh, we did it, boys.
That was a tough one.
I was epic. I like that. I really like that.
I can get even stronger
Great
than
boss
this.
fight.
We learn that we need to eat it in order to pass through the door to the innermost sanctum, to search for a book that can help us. You find a book, but it is old, and we are unable to read it for now. We get out of there, and unfortunately for Laponette, she slips and we catch her. She freaks out, and as we learn, she has the ability to see the future of people she touches. And she tells us that we will be strangled to death by what looks like a woman. We thank her, because Laponette is just the best. Something she has never heard before after telling people their faith. We score great relationship points with her and getting the trophy for finishing the chapter. The next chapter starts immediately after the last one ends. No return to the witch's den. There is some commotion between the ravens and the knights. It seems the ravens have managed to tame a dragon. They are using it to attack the knights. We rush in and take care of the dragon, as it is targeting our best friend from our time as a knight. We kill it, take a bracelet that was attached to it, and rushes to the end of the desert. We are confronted by Corberia again, and she gives us an offer to come back to the knights if we give up the location of the witch's den. We don't really know what to do, but we know we won't give up our new family. And before we can make it back to Manessa and the gang, someone chokes us from behind. Laponette is attacking us. God damn. I guess we didn't earn any relationship points at all. But hang on. It turns out that it is the bracelet that caused all that. And we get our lovely Laponette back to normal. Finally, we can return home and return to a trophy.
So that was chapter 5.
Luckily, we got back when we did, as finishing 2 chapters almost finished off all 3 of the little sisters. A reason why this feature is a bit annoying. It discourages exploration and actively punishes it, as that could spell the death of the sisters. I almost made them meet the same fate as I broke the rule of thumb of not doing side quests. Luckily, this side quest run gave me 2 things. First and foremost, it allowed me to feed the little sisters enough to receive 20 gifts.
My stomach is getting really hot.
But more importantly, he knows! Yippee! I finally found out about the unlock all button. No more manual unlocking of skills. Hallelujah!
Oh, I wish it was the unlock all.
How have I not seen this before? How have I not seen that before? How have I not seen that one before? Alright, back to the story, and we rush into yet another temple to look for clues about the cure for us witches. There isn't a heck of a lot to talk about here, as it is pretty much the same as the first temple. The difficulty is ramping up, and as such we are getting to see more awakenings. And wouldn't you know, we are now seeing a total of 100 of these awesome horny cutscenes. As we get to the end, another intelligent dragon shows up This one, however, isn't interested in us and flies off in the direction of the city to hunt. Knowing the knights and ravens are useless and couldn't possibly hope to battle this dragon, we rush after it. And as we rush after it, we decide to keep the town safe by shopping?
Huh?
We end up shopping and the dragon shows up to just go back to the temple. To be honest, I don't have any idea what happened here. It was such a weird tonal shift and felt so unnecessary, and was only there to be an exposition set piece that fleshed out some of the characters. This could have happened at a later, more suitable moment. On our way back, we run into Durandal and the ravens. A fight ensues, and we dismantle them pretty easily yet again. After the fight, we notice a raven watching us, belonging to Ruby Eye, according to Shallara. Something Durandal doesn't believe, because there is no way she could be a witch. We finally get back to our temple, fast travel to the end of the dungeon, and can finally have a fight with this intelligent dragon. After beating it, we notice that Karikaro isn't quite herself, and as we go into the sacred chamber, we realize she didn't eat any of the dragon. She has been feeling the dragon a lot lately, and is scared, but by barging into the innermost sanctum without eating the dragon, she catches Charlotta's lie about needing to eat the dragons. Honestly, what the hell is Charlotta's character? I waited a bit before talking about this, but I did not like her character for the most part of this game. She is annoying just to be annoying. It might be justified, as we will see later, but that doesn't help the fact that she has solely existed to cause tension in the group at this point in the game. She pushes the plot forward and causes problems at the same time. It's such a weird mix, and one I did not like at all. Anywho, we finally get the real explanation that the world itself is a dragon, and the world itself is dying. Our only hope is to replace it. And to replace it, we need to become the new god. Eating these dragons are a way for us to qualify for this role. Everyone volunteered to sacrifice himself, and we end the chapter with Faria wanting to prove herself again, and the Emperor laughing as Corberia's plan fails. Luckily, we are now over the halfway point of the story. Hooray! Unfortunately, this is where the plot falls apart a bit. Boo! I have loved every second of the first 5 chapters, but the one we just had started to drag a bit. The Riash Temple storyline, the unnecessary prolonged ending, and to make matters worse, the combat started to get a bit stale. But it still has some bright points, so let's get to those, shall we? One of these bright points are the individual stories for all the witches. After each chapter, I have spent some time gifting them gifts and singing their stories. Of course, focusing on the best waifu, Lapunette. The second to last of these affinity chapters is the chapter that has the climax to the story, with the last story being sort of an epilogue, but not really. And of course, we are still playing a Japanese game, which means some fan service. And I'll just let this speak for itself. Lapunette in the shower. And somehow we managed to increase our relationship after this incident. I just wanted to mention this, as the reward for this won't be seen for a while just yet. Just know that this serves a purpose. Before we venture out again, I mixed my first +10 potion to get this.
Did you want to use this?
We also, yet again, narrowly avoided disaster with the little sisters. This should be noted, as I found this to be in quite interesting detail and a bit about how gameplay is made, I guess. All the scenes in the Witch's Den where the little sisters comment, the little sisters are just character portraits in the corner. They aren't going full Game Theory MathPad style being animated PNGs on the screen. I reckon this is because they can die at any given point, and animating them will be harder and more time consuming than putting their dialogue inside of an if statement that only runs when the sisters is alive. Anyhow, enough about gameplay, programming, speculations. We finally take Faria with us and embark on the most meaningless chapter until now. We got information that our old home is being ransacked after we became a witch, and we need to investigate their investigation. This could honestly have been a cutscene. The scenery and the reason for us being in the location of this chapter makes no sense. I like chapter 8, but this one is just forgettable gameplay wise and story wise. As we move towards our former home, we see Faria's awakening, and I question if it is even legal to show the clip here on YouTube.
The dragon inside my stomach. Lend me your strength. This power. I will protect everyone.
As we clear chapter 7, we get to see the story shine through again. After basically 2 chapters of nothing, we get Corberia killing. Though I wish we could get a boss fight against him though. Oh well, can't win them all. We find our home totally ransacked, and we find an old map to the witch's den in our home. Wait just a minute. Chapter 8 is another case of immediately dropping us into the next chapter. I won't abandon the little sisters this time though. I have learned my lesson. Back under the castle, we encounter these really cool enemies that can shapeshift into our party members, which means they will learn all their moves and have all their stats, making them deadly as fuck. The good thing about meeting them here though is that they help us get the trophy for seeing 50% of all the dragons in the game.
Eat this! Next! Yeah. That was...
Okay, hold on to your butts, because we are getting lore again. As we make our way to the castle, we see an empty throne with a book on it. A diary. Our mom's diary. Turns out we confirm why Sephi was able to heal from drinking the dragon blood all the way at the beginning of the game. The Emperor sees us and goes absolutely crazy, shouting nonsense and shutting down. The Cardinal shows up, says something cryptic about everything being a lie, and lets us go. What? As we make our escape though, we are plunged straight into another boss fight. And this was straight after the supposed boss fight of the chapter. I was weak at this point in time. And after a hard-fought win, Charlotta gets a message and leaves to talk with Ruby Eye. Should I say the Witch of Hellfire Benedicta? Yeah, the worst kept secret is uncovered. Charlotta is not the Witch of Hellfire. Who would have thought? Back at the den, our little sisters have started translating the temple book, and Charlotta has left for the force of death with flowers. We go after her, which turns out to be a grave mistake, as we witness our first game over. What? It only took me 5 pages of the script to get here, but the game has ramped up its difficulty, and these dragons are tough. Made even worse by the fact that they have one-hit KO moves that can knock your entire party out in one turn if you are unlucky. This is a character-focused chapter as we learn the actual backstory of Charlotta. And we learn that she is old, like old, 200 years old in fact, and an agent of Varnir, the god and the planet itself. That is why she has the flowers, as we are witnessing the only witch she has ever called friend before. This was a touching story, and a point where I actually started to like Charlotta. A lot of her demeanor changed this chapter, and I really like that. So well done game. When you want, you can create some well-crafted storylines and some very likable characters. Good job. Before we rush out to the final temple, I max out Laponette's affinity and finally makes her mine. Moving on. I also battled my 50th elixir dragon to get the best gear for the situation and for a trophy.
Eat this. Not a big deal. That wasn't so bad.
The temple itself is the biggest arena we have encountered yet. So big that it almost caused a disaster.
What do I do? Thank you.
After saving the little sisters, we come face to face with another intelligent dragon. A familiar dragon. A dragon we know. Sephi's mom. What the fuck? This is crazy cool. The game threw out yet another awesome twist, and I am all for it. This is also an appropriate time to say that, man, these boss designs and dragon designs in general are awesome. I like pretty much all of them, and the bosses especially are so cool looking. And you can say what you want, the game foreshadows that this was a showdown that was waiting to happen, especially after like chapter 8. But this boss threw me for a curveball. And eventually, this great boss fight comes to an end. But before we can celebrate, Durandal is here to take us down, and no, he is gone. Benedicta is here and killed him. That is 2 for 2 of the ravens we were unable to fight. Honestly, again, kind of disappointing. They have been a big part of the story, and the fact that we were snubbed of 2 boss fights against them doesn't sit quite right for me. Benedicta lets us go, so this fairly long chapter comes to an end. Knowing the end of the game is upon us, I decided to actually do some side quests to become stronger. I know, shocking, right? Unfortunately, there's only one actual proper side quest that has a story, cutscenes, and exclusive boss fights in the game. And I, for one, welcomed it when I played it. The other ones are merely fetch quests, to be honest. One thing I don't welcome though is the unnecessary lolly insinuations of Sephi and Faria and the little sisters. There are so many nods to it throughout the story, and the entirety of Faria's affinity story is about Sephi seeing her as a woman and not a child. And it's honestly so weird and icky to me. Just wanted to get out of my chest, and now let's finish the game and get closer to the end of the massive essay of a video this has turned into. Charlotta has laid out the game plan. One needs to die in order to save the world and the rest. On our way to where things properly started with the sanctuary, Corberia ambushes us. She has pretty much gone crazy. The Emperor is dead by suicide, as the truth broke him. There will be no more witch hunts. She can't accept that. So here she is to take us down before it's too late. A hard and epic fight ensues, and finally we get to actually fight one of the main antagonists of the game, and it won't just die in a cutscene. Thank you, game, thank you. Return back to the den to rest after that fight, and now the beginning of the end is here. And the good thing? The little sisters are safe! We passed the barrier and they can no longer die. We are locked in towards one of the endings. And you know what that means? They are back as PNGs. Woohoo! Now there's a lot happening in this chapter. And the true ending, chapter 11, is probably my favorite in the entire game. We have made it this far, right? Might as well lean into a bit more of the spoilers. Benedicta shows up to stop us. She has stolen the dragon device from the ravens as they disbanded after the murder of their leaders. She is stopped by her little sisters that have translated the book and as such know the truth about the device. They took some sense into her since they met her at the beginning of the game, and they know that she's a good person deep inside, tying the entire story into one big circle. We think she leaves and continue on, And hey, look, a holy dragon. That would be important later. As we move further in and oh hey look,
Piatone.
that will be important for later. That also gives us 80% of all the dragons and the final trophy for seeing dragons.
That was a
Before we go any further, listen to this. Holy moly, the music in this game is incredible. And these last tracks of the game is otherworldly. I can't get enough of it. And with this banging soundtrack in our backs, we make our way to the end. Our final unlocking of skills, changing equipment, skills, and a formation. And to top it all off, we set our difficulty to hard to ensure we get another trophy with the credits roll. As we stand at the center of the star womb, ready to make the final sacrifice, become the new dragon that will replace Varnir, who comes out and steals the thunder other than Benedicta. She has had a change of heart. She sees that it is possible to save the witches, to remove the curse, to let people live a normal life. The little sisters helped show her the way, and now she will make amends for all these years she lived with anger and spite in her soul. Now she will do the correct thing, atoning for the witch of hellfire, atoning for the carnival of death. She drinks the blood of Shalada, and we get taken to heaven, where we come face to face with Varnir. She has been accepted, and as the final trial, we have to defeat God itself. This is a JRPG, alright, we are defeating God. And remember when I alluded to it earlier, that the combat of the game had started to get stale? Well, I wasn't lying. After we get Faria, there hasn't really been any evolution into the combat. The skills we have been getting recently have just been better versions of the earlier skills, doing more damage and attacking a wider area at a time. Which is a shame, as I loved the gameplay to begin with. Now, it just ended up being a spam fest of the same skills over and over, rushing through the combat. I wish there was an attack, like a taunt or something, to make dragons focus on you. That would have made the tanks actual tanks and could have added a new wrinkle and strategy to the game. As it stands now, there was always a coin toss between which witch the dragons attacked. So if you didn't have proper defensive skills on all your attackers, you were kinda screwed. I mean, this is just one thing I would have added to the combat to make it a bit deeper and not as shallow as it gets towards the late game encounters. With that being said though, toss all of that out of the window for this boss fight, the final boss on the hardest difficulty. Now that was a real challenge. As you just saw, I had just equipped myself with all of my top equipment and gear and made sure I had the strongest skills available put onto myself. The problem though was that I had equipped myself with the wrong skills on the witches that I had decided to be the main front figures. My entire backline I had equipped with a lot of supportive skills to make sure that the attackers got the most out of their attack and defense. I had not given them defense or attack boosting skills, so sending them out to the front line would have been a bad decision and a surefire way of losing the battle. Because you see, I had equipped my front figures with the wrong attacking skills. But in my darkest hour, darkest, see what I did there? As I didn't have the darkness skills? Yeah? No one? Fine. Okay. Because you see, Varnir is a light type dragon, meaning that he is weak to darkness type skills. I didn't anticipate this, I probably should have, but I sent in my attackers with a lot of light skills, rock skills, and the such, because those were the highest attacking moves I had. But then I realized that I had a lot of consumables that I'd never even thought about using up until this point. Because there was no need for it. The battles were easy when you played on normal difficulty. In this game, there are items where you can change the elemental type of an enemy. Luckily for me, like I said, I had equipped my witches with rock moves. And changing Varnir to a wind dragon would be a surefire way of doing crazy damage. So I did that. I popped the item and I finally had the firepower to break his dangerous attacking moves and healing capabilities and eventually take him out.
See ya.
Yes! Oh, we did it! Oh, let's fucking go! Oh, that was an epic fight.
That was epic. 0 experience, really?
That was it. The final boss defeated in a magnificent final boss fight. And our journey was finally over. Chapter 11 was done. I had maxed out best waifu Laponette's affinity earlier and got her wonderful epilogue.
She's close to
Seph is so fucking awkward. It's so awkward.
Wait.
And since I changed the difficulty right before the final boss fight, the game recognized that I had beaten the game on the hardest difficulty, and I got the final trophy of our first playthrough. Even though the main story is finished, we still have a way to go to get our platinum trophy. The postgame opens up to us and lo and behold, there is yet another temple to explore. Before we explore though, we use all our resources that we gathered in the final big stretch of the game to create elixirs until we have created a total of 100 of them.
Did you want to use this?
Yeah, there we go. And we go and do some side quests to resolve 80% of the quests in the game. Remember I talked about the Holy Dragon and the being important? Well, it's because they are part of the overpowered endgame witch build. By combining the skills Perfect Bite and Secret of Devouring from the Holy Dragon, Devouring Art from the Great Worm, and Leviathan from you become an unstoppable dragon devouring machine. With a devour possibility of 70% most of the time, you are pretty much safe to steamroll everything in the game. Combining this with the Inferno free DLC difficulty for maximum experience gain, we quickly get to level 99.
Wonderful. That wasn't so bad.
I feel the power flowing through me.
At the end of the final temple, we get closure about the side characters and the world as a whole. We get closure on our journey and can return content with a trophy. Incomparable weight. You thought I wouldn't do this, did you? You thought with this long essay format there would be no room for a montage? Well, think differently. Roll the montage as we have to go back, make Laponette and myself sad.
I suppose it would be rude not to take it.
Emotional damage!
Max affinity with a witch, beat the final boss yet again, this time on the easiest difficulty to speed up the process, and watch all the epilogues. All that remains is the hardest part. The 2 other endings. Not the hardest part in terms of gameplay, but the hardest part in terms of mental stability. Alright, luckily I can start a new game plus journey and continue with my levels and skills, making running through the game a breeze, and I can finish the game in about 50 minutes the second time. And I will praise this. This is a new game plus done right. It makes you feel powerful and serves as an easy way of cleaning up any trophies you missed. The hardest part is that in order to get the normal ending, one of the little sisters had to die. So I had to murder... Hang on, what? What do you mean I can't kill the sisters? I started the new game plus on the wrong setting, motherfucker. Fine, I'll do it all again. Another stupid replay later, I now had to kill Monet. And now I hate myself. Great! The only redeeming thing about this ending is that it adds another boss fight. Since the sisters doesn't join us in the sanctuary, no one can dissuade Benedicta from going through with her plan. And we have to fight her. Hey, would you look at that? 2 out of 4 of the antagonists having boss fights. Not bad. Other than that, this ending is just bleak and depressing for the most part. I'm very glad I got the true ending the first time, because that left me with such a better feeling and overall contentment with the game. But this ending serves as a way of getting another trophy, so at least it has that redeeming quality. That leaves one thing: the madness ending. And this is awful in the best way possible. I love this one, to be honest. I don't love that I have to kill all the sisters and fight the dragons they turn into, but I love how terrible everything turns. We get this reddish glow around everything as we get the cutscenes before we venture out towards the end, and the hope of saving the world is slim in this one. No one believes the cause. Everyone is demoralized. Laponette is almost mentally checked out, playing with Rurura in the little sister's room. Laponette gets an ominous vision, and Karikaro is even more scared about the inner dragon than usual. And here's the kicker: the final boss ends up being the mid-dungeon dragon boss. Our journey stops there. Faria is severely wounded and everyone is tired. As we leave the dungeon, Benedicta comes after us and patronizes and mocks us for not having the balls and energy to go down and actually finish the job. She doesn't even dignify us with a battle, saying that we will suffer more alive anyway. And she is correct. As we return home, Faria is dead. The vision Laponette gets is of Minessa choking out Karikaro, which turns out to be true. Charlotta, in an attempt to stop her, sets fire to the den and pushes Laponette, that also had an injured foot. Laponette falls into a shelf and hurts her head and bleeds out in our arms. And we, Sethi, are about to go mad and turn into a dragon as we speak, before we commit the act of Sudoku. All this, while honestly one of the best tracks in the soundtrack is playing in the background. I don't think my words here gave this justice. If you don't want to play this game, go watch this ending. I sat there, absolutely gobsmacked. This was crazy. This was unbelievable. This was awesome in the worst way possible. I felt so bad watching this ending, seeing all these characters that I had grown so attached to die in a matter of seconds. And that is exactly what you want out of your bad ending. Honestly, a perfect way to end this journey. Terrible in the best way possible, and a showcase of how to do a bad ending in a video game. Everything went to shit. A long-awaited platinum was finally mine.
Which who holds the truth?
8 pages, 6,336 words, and 33,558 characters later, and the journey is at an end. If you're still here, thank you so much for watching this one. This was a journey that took me by surprise. It grabbed my attention from the first second and didn't let me go until it had killed everyone I loved so much. The story is amazing, and even though I have summarized most of it here, the game is still worth experiencing. The combat get a bit stale towards the end. It stops innovating itself about halfway through the game, and the challenge doesn't ramp up enough to justify changing strategies that often. I guess this could have been better if I had played the entire game on hard, as the final boss on the hardest difficulty was hands down the best fight in the game. All the characters are likable. I ended up liking everyone in the main cast of characters in the end, and all the witches are so well written and different from one another. Even with the fan service shoved into the game, which is almost to be expected by these Japanese anime-like games, these characters are excellent. The music, like I have said so many times now, is god tier, which I hope you have also heard in the background of this video. The system with the little sisters are clever in design, but it impacted the gameplay, and the forceful way it forced me to skip exploration and side quests in order to not kill them was kinda bullshit. With everything I've talked about here in the summary and the video as a whole, this game will get a 7 out of 10 for me. The combat, mid part of the story, and the little sister systems being the main factors of dragging it down. The platinum, however, get a 9 out of 10 from me. Experiencing the entirety of the game was so good. Seeing all the epilogues and ending, the ease of cleaning up the trophies, and the post-game activities was awesome. It drags up the feeling of the entire game. Completing the game made me see so many parts of the game I loved. And it made the fact I had to skip exploring and side quests during the main story not such a big deal, to be honest. It didn't help with the combat, but it did help that I could basically bypass it. Also, all the endings felt so different from each other. And I loved the fact that the different endings had an effect on the gameplay in the form of additional or fewer bosses you had to fight. Like I said, this is a textbook example of how to do a bad ending. It was seriously that good. A visual novel, turn-based combat, dungeon crawler shouldn't work. But this game manages to get almost everything right in its platinum journey. If you can, get this platinum. And there we have it. The end of the biggest road to the platinum I honestly hope to ever make. This was a hard video to make, and I'm pretty certain that this is not the best format for these types of videos. But hey, I'm trying out new things, and if you like it, please let me know. But skipping the story in this video would have made for a very short and, in my eyes, a very bad video. Next one on the channel will be considerably shorter as we tackle Ratchet and Clank 2 Going Commando. And you do not want to miss that. So, if you like this, please press that subscribe button, and if you want to see what 2023 brought me in terms of platinums, press the video on the screen right now. So consider this the end of the podcast for now, and remember that I love you guys so much. Bye.